Hi everyone, I'm Priscilla with Dolce Vita Events, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the difference between a full wedding planner and a wedding coordinator in today's episode. A lot of times in my line of work as a wedding planner, designer, and wedding photographer, I get asked by my bridal clients, what's the difference between a full wedding planner and a wedding coordinator? A lot of the brides are a little bit confused because it is confusing. Day of coordinator, as the industry calls it, people seem to think it's just that day of, just shows up for the actual wedding itself and that's all. And while there are day of coordinating services that are exactly that, that's a little bit difficult to come in on the wedding day not having met the client or the other vendors or even walked the venue. So day of coordination typically is actually more like week of or month of coordination, depending on how it's broken down. A coordinator that offers day ofs or month of coordination services typically comes in at a point where most of the wedding planning has been done by the bride and groom, and they just need someone professional who is experienced, who can definitely come in the day of, a couple of weeks before, get to know the clients and what they have already set in place, introduce themselves to the vendors, and be a point of contact on the day of the wedding for the vendors. So essentially it's more like managing the whole wedding day. Now, the way that we work things here at Dolce Vita Events is typically if you're hiring us for day of coordination, I will meet with you, or actually you'll meet with either myself or one of our staff wedding planners, assistant wedding planners that you have already met or reached out to. We'll meet at least a couple of weeks before the wedding, and again, this is for a day of coordinator only. We meet a couple of weeks before the wedding. We keep in touch, learning about what you have set in place for your wedding plans. We send a letter and reach out to your vendors, letting them know that we are your day of coordinator and that we're the point of contact for the wedding day. We then create a wedding timeline working with you. Some brides and grooms already have that done, or they have an idea of how they want their wedding day to flow. So we work with our bride and groom to develop the wedding timeline. We then distribute that to the other vendors, be it the DJ, the photographer, catering, or floral design. And then we're also their point of contact on that day of to make sure that they have gotten to the venue on time, to make sure that all things are set in place. We work with floral companies to make sure that they set up the reception space according to the bride and groom's vision. And of course, we're there on the day of to be the right hand for our bride and groom. So typically we get to the wedding site or bridal party suite at least 3 hours before the wedding to check in on the bride and groom in their respective places that they're getting ready. Typically it's at either one location or not too far from the ceremony site, and make sure that we have everything we need for the bridal parties, be it they have the bride's flowers, boutonnieres, all of that stuff. We then send our assistants to go check out the reception space and make sure that that's set up the way it's supposed to be, as well as the ceremony space. And then once we are ready for the wedding, we wrangle everyone up, getting them ready for the ceremony to begin. At the ceremony, we are there to guide the ceremony through, manage the details of the ceremony, and also, again, be the right hand for the bride and groom, making sure that everything is as it's supposed to be according to their vision. Once the bride and groom are taken away by the photographer, usually after the ceremony, during that 1 hour photo opportunity, that's usually when the cocktail hour happens, and our staff is there beforehand to ensure that everything's on time. The catering has already set everything out for both the cocktail hour and the reception. Any personal items that need to be set up for the reception area, like your gift table, a memorandum table, cake table, those things are set up, and we make sure that place cards and seating charts and name tags are all ready to go for when your guests actually enter the reception venue. We're typically there through the reception main elements, like the first dance, the cake cutting, of course dinner, and then the send-off, depending on whether you have a full day or partial day of coordination. So one of the other things that I wanted to talk about with relation to wedding planning versus wedding coordination is kind of the elephant in the room. A lot of brides and groom have never been married before, and of course that's the ideal, but they also have no idea of what is involved in wedding planning, or when they're looking to hire a wedding planner or wedding coordinator, they really have no idea of how much it's going to cost. Usually a little less expensive than a full-time wedding planner. So I always talk to my brides and grooms and say, you know, if having a full-time wedding planner is not in your budget and it's just absolutely not feasible, at the very least, definitely hire a day of coordinator, if not a month of coordinator, because again, they're going to be able to alleviate any of the mistakes and the mishaps that can happen when you have no one to orchestrate or manage your wedding. And then that just creates so much more stress for you as the bride and groom, and it takes away the spotlight on you because you're more focused about how the wedding is running and how your guests are relating to what's going on. The typical rate for a professional day of coordinator ranges anywhere from, for a full day of wedding planning, which is full day of wedding coordination, which is anywhere from 8 hours to 10 hours. It's going to range from about $950 on the very low end to upwards of $1,600. And keep in mind, again, you might think, wow, $1,600 for one day. But actually, day of coordination is truly much more difficult for the planner to provide as opposed to full-time wedding planning, because they know all the ins and outs and intricacies because they've helped you plan it. A wedding coordinator just comes in, again, a couple of weeks through, but specifically the day of, to run and manage every single detail of your wedding day. So that's a lot of responsibility. That's a lot for one person to handle. And when I say one person, keep in mind that I'm referring to your lead wedding planner. Any established professional wedding coordinator will always have at least one assistant for each wedding that they coordinate on their day of, especially when you're getting into weddings that are average size of 100 people or more. There's no one person that can completely manage and oversee and handle every single detail of a wedding for 100 people or more. So any, again, established professional wedding coordinator will be bringing in an assistant, at least one. Here at Dolce Vita Events, we actually work with 1 to 2 assistants per every day of coordination project that we take on, because we are very detailed focused. And if I am the lead wedding coordinator on the day of, I will have a staff of my assistant wedding planner and an additional junior wedding planner that oversees the wedding, because there are just, again, too many separate details with regards to ceremony coordination, reception coordination, and of course taking care of your bride and groom and bridal party. There are too many moving parts. So when you're looking at numbers and you're thinking, well, gosh, I'm not even going to bother with someone that's charging $1,500 for a day of coordination when I can get it for $950. Keep in mind, it's always the old saying, you get what you pay for. A lot of new, inexperienced wedding planners, coordinators have to start somewhere. So that means that if they have, less than, let's throw a number out, 20 weddings a year under their belt, then they're gonna lower their prices because they need the experience, and that's perfectly fine. Just understand, going in, you're going to get what you pay for. A wedding planner that truly knows all the details that need to be handled will always, like I said, work with at least one assistant, if not two, and that's why the price of the staffing fees then gets built into that overall wedding coordination price. Truly, the most important thing of your wedding day is to sit back, take a deep breath, and enjoy this as one of the best days of your life.